folks. It is Sunday, May 10th. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. It is the middle of turkey season, but you can't hunt on Sunday in Maine, so, which is probably a good thing for me because it gives me one day out of the week to actually get something done around my house, even though that's not what I'm doing today. A buddy of mine said he wanted to see some foraging videos, so I figured I'd take the camera with me today. I'm going to go down to a spot where I found some fiddleheads while I was deer scouting. And if you don't know what fiddleheads are, they are an ostrich fern. When it just starts to poke up out of the ground, it kind of looks curled up like a fiddlehead, the end of a neck of a fiddle. And that's why they call them fiddleheads. But they're really good to eat. And I found this spot deer scouting. There's not a lot of them down here, but it's worth walking down in to get them. I know a couple other spots where there's so few that it's not even really worth walking out to pick the things, but yeah, turkey season. It's been kind of slow. We've been out a few times, and Jake and I have gotten on a few birds. He missed one. Youth day. Friday night, today's Sunday, Friday night we got about 4 or 5 inches of wet, heavy snow. And yesterday it was snow on the ground and the wind was blowing about 35 miles an hour all day, so I didn't go turkey hunting. But I am out here today. The snow melted right off within a few hours yesterday. It warmed up and the snow melted right away, so I'm gonna go out here and see if there's any fiddleheads poking up. Alright, well usually I'm no expert on fiddleheads by any means, but to find them, usually you want to get down in either a river bottom or stream bed where it's low and wet. And I find that they tend to grow more where there's kind of hardwoods, more hardwoods than pines and stuff like that. They kind of seem to like sandy soil. If they're not quite coming up yet, one way you can find them without actually seeing the fiddlehead fern itself is in the fall when they die off, they will leave these things, which is their kind of their seeds, I think. But there's a difference between an ostrich fern. You can see these ones are just kind of dust, like little tiny spores, almost like mushroom spores. And I'll see if I can find a different, here we go. I think these are called lady ferns, and you can see these have more actual like seeds on them, so you don't want those. But if you kind of scan out in front of you, you can see those things sticking up everywhere. That's what all those kind of black looking things are. Those are all leftover ferns from last year that have died off. And like I said, if it's kind of early in the spot, you find those, and then right down at the base, those are your fiddleheads, and they'll have this, I'm going to pick one here. They'll kind of have this copper foil, I call it, but it's almost like tissue paper. That stuff comes off real easy. And that's a fiddlehead. But I'm gonna, like I said, there's not a whole lot down here. I got into kind of a decent patch. There's a patch growing right there. There's a little cluster. Those are just tiny ones, but right around here somewhere, I was out here the other day deer scouting and I found a pretty good patch of them, so I'm gonna look around and see if I can find a good group. Start picking. Another thing that I forgot to mention was when I'm looking for them, actually looking around, picking them, I tend to look out probably 10-15 feet in front of me because it seems to be easier to pick them out sticking up instead of trying to look straight down on them. And the soil, this is kind of muddy, but you can't really tell, but it's kind of sandy soil too. You can kind of see some sand on this leaf. any area like this in a brook where there's a bend and it kind of overflows and washes all this sand and leaves and stuff in here. You can see there's kind of a bend in the brook right here, and this is kind of overflow. There's a down tree here laying in the brook, and that kind of washes all the sand and stuff in the piles here. And what I was talking about by kind of getting down close to the ground and looking out away from you, you can kind of pick out those round little fiddleheads sticking up. If I can get the camera to focus, which I guess it's not really gonna. You can see some there, there's some right there. I just like to get kind of down low and look about 15 feet out in front of me, and you can spot them a lot better usually. And another thing is, when I do pick them, you can see here I already picked this batch, and there's a couple of them still down in the ground. I won't pull those out, I'll leave those so that they'll grow and reproduce more, because you can wipe out an entire spot if you pick too many. There's a little group right there. There's those leftover spore things I was talking about. New ones are growing right out of the base. Get a close up of that so you can see what they look like. Another thing with fiddleheads too is they have this groove on the inside of their stem. It's kind of U-shaped, and you've got that copper foil stuff, tissue paper looking stuff. But that's what you're looking for right there. And like I said, if they're not quite sticking up like this so you can see them, you just look for this stuff, and as you can see, it's sticking up all over the place around here. So I'm gonna pick around this spot some more, and then I'm gonna probably head up through the brook there, up through the valley, and see if I can get on some more. This here is a little better example of that sandy soil I was talking about. You can tell it's just kind of leaves and brook sand and all kinds of stuff in there, but they love it. Well, I guess I didn't really need to walk. I started to walk upstream and didn't really see anything right off, so I came back down here and took another couple laps around this little area. That's one thing you want to do too when you're picking. If you kind of go through an area, you want to turn around and kind of do circles right through the same little area, because you'll walk right over them and won't see them, and then you'll come back 5 minutes later and be like, oh, I totally missed those. But and there will be some that aren't up yet, and if you just I usually just give it a couple days, and I'll come back and they'll be popped up at that point, kind of like these ones here. If you can see those, I could try to pick those, but in a couple days they'll be a few inches tall and a lot easier to pick and be more to them. But I already went through this spot a few times, and I'm actually already seeing a few bunches that I missed here. There's some there, there's some there. I see a whole bunch of them actually that I missed, but like I said, I'm gonna come back down here in a couple days and probably pick another bag. I should have brought a bigger bag. I just brought this little reusable, probably 1 gallon reusable shopping bag, and I've got that at least half full, probably 3/4 full. So it's probably 3 pounds there. But we'll head back to the house and I'll show you guys my method of cleaning these up. It's probably the easiest way that I've found to do it. So we'll hike back to the house. Alright, well, we're back at the house, and I'm going to show you guys how I go about cleaning up my fiddleheads. Hopefully you guys can hear me alright, because the wind's blowing about 100 miles an hour out here. I used to take my fiddleheads and I'd put them in like a colander or a spaghetti strainer, whatever you want to call it, and I'd spray them down with my garden hose and try to blast all that copper foil stuff off. And what I found was that when that stuff gets wet, it just sticks to everything, so I came up with a new idea. And what I have here is, my chickens are squawking. I built a 2-foot by 4-foot frame out of pressure treated lumber. You don't have to use pressure treated, I just did because I leave it outside. And I've got 1/2-inch chicken wire with 1/2-inch holes in it. You girls be quiet. And all I do is, these are fiddleheads in this bag that I picked this morning before I started filming. I was in another spot down the road, and this is the bag that I just picked out down by the brook out back, and that was where that spot was that I was just at. I dump them all in here and just shake this. I don't know if you guys can see that, but all that copper stuff is just flying right off these. I'll try to lower the camera so you guys can get a better look. I'll pick out all the leaves and grass and all that stuff. Anything you don't want in there. Having a nice breezy day actually kind of helps with this because it kind of blows all the stuff right away. Any stuff like that, the very bottoms of the stems, just break those off. Chickens might eat them. Now obviously after shaking these through the screen, they're going to have a lot of stuff left on them. And what I will do is I'll take my air compressor with a blower nozzle like this, and I'll just go right over, and that will actually blast all the leftover copper foil stuff, all this papery stuff off the fiddleheads, and it will get rid of some of this grass and stuff too, so we'll do that. Well, there you go. I've blasted all these with the air compressor. If you guys can see them. You will find a little bit of, if I can hang on to my camera, you will find a little bit of stuff left in there. Pine needles or a little bit of that foil stuff. Might be left over, but I usually pick that out as I'm bagging them. And you can take these and blanch them and freeze them, which you put them in boiling water for 2 or 3 minutes is about all I like to do. And some people like to take the stems right down to nothing. I mean, ideally, people like their fiddleheads to look kind of more something like that. I don't mind having a little stem like that, or even sometimes like that. It tastes just as good as the rest of the fiddlehead. Just doesn't look as pretty. You know, you buy them in the store and they look like that. But yeah, blanching and freezing, I'll boil them for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll have my kitchen sink full of ice water and take them directly out of the boiling water and give them an ice bath and cool them right off, and that'll stop the cooking. And then you just throw them in, dry most of the water off them and put them in a vacuum sealer, or you can probably use Ziploc freezer bags and get all the air out of them and freeze them. And I've got leftovers from last year still. They're still perfectly fine, been in the freezer for a year. So, or you can just bag them up fresh like this. Another thing my brother likes to do is he'll take a big plastic tote, like not a tote, but a big bowl, like a salad bowl, and he'll fill it full of cold water and put his fiddleheads in that and keep them in the bottom of the refrigerator, and they will stay for a few months like that. And especially if you keep changing the water out and rinsing them off, then you won't have any bacteria or anything growing in them. But yeah, that's about it. I'm going to bag these up. I actually sell some of my fiddleheads for $5 a pound right at the end of my driveway, and I'm actually sold out right now. They've been going like crazy along with the chicken eggs, so I'm going to go get some baggies and bag these things up and put them in the cooler out front for people to buy. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I'll probably be doing some more foraging videos over the summer and whatnot, where turkey season will be eventually coming to an end, and I won't have much to do other than deer scout and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll go out looking for some wild mushrooms and whatnot. I also wanted to thank everybody for subscribing to the YouTube channel. We just recently hit 100 subscribers. I think we're at like 107 or 8 now. So I appreciate that. If you guys know anybody that would be interested in the channel, recommend it to them. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you in the turkey woods in the morning.